Good afternoon, everyone. This is Valerie Saunders with the National Association of Mortgage Brokers, and we're very excited to have the first in our series of webinars of Finance of America, TPO. And this particular topic today is what is eClosing? Before we get started and I turn it over to Ginger Bell, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So this webinar is being recorded. Approximately 1 hour after the end of this webinar, you will receive an automatically generated email from our GoToWebinar system that will contain a link for you to be able to access the recorded version of today's session. In addition, if you would like to be able to access the PDF version of the presentation, you can access that by going to the GoToWebinar toolbar. Go to the handout section and click the little arrow to the left, and once the arrow is pointing down, it'll open up and you'll be able to download the PDF version of today's session. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ginger Bell.
Great. Thank you, Valerie, so much for inviting us. We want to thank NAM for inviting us to share this information about this exciting topic of eClosing. So as Valerie said, my name is Ginger Bell. I'm the founder and CEO of EduMarketing, a full-service education, marketing, and video production agency. And with me today, I have Nectar Kalajian, who is the Senior Vice President, TPO Channel Leader of Finance America Wholesale. And Nectar is an experienced mortgage executive with a demonstrated 40-year history, which you must have started when you were like 2, Nectar, working in the mortgage industry. And she has helped to develop and implement numerous employee training initiatives to enhance the skills required for streamlined and online mortgage origination systems, in addition to managing sales operations for consumer direct, retail TPO, and correspondent channels. So Nectar, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Ginger. It's a pleasure to be on the call today and to be able to share our expertise and our initiative in assisting our brokers. So thank you for the introduction. For everybody's information, our goal is to create series of webinars through our partnership with NAM. And with these series of seminars and webinars that we want to create, we want to make sure that we share with our broker partners how to build an efficient and have marketing, informational, operational tools so that they can compete in this market with large mortgage bankers and banks. It is critical for us to be able to each month to share with you any topics related to technology, digital tools, products, innovative marketing that we can share and offer to our client base and to our brokers to be able to grow their business. So there's a lot that's going on in the market, as you know, and a lot of initiatives are going on the wholesale panel that we're all involved in, and we would like to be able to offer those tools to all of you guys. And to help, we want to build your business. We want to stand out. We want to help you stand out in your market. We want to leverage technology and trends to be able to get you to the next level. And the most importantly, we want to make sure to offer you the tools to be able to compete in your market. Our goal is to help you be your best in your business. And without further ado, we will just go ahead and share with you today's topic, which is going to be eClosing. I'm sure most of you have heard about eClosing. Most of you want to know, what is it all about? Why is the hype about the eClosing? And what does the future look like for the eClosing? Where are we heading? I remember years ago when I started in this business, to actually close a loan, it took us about 3 days, and we had to clear at least about 3 trees to be able to generate documents.
True.
Today, we actually could generate these documents within seconds. We could have our clients review those documents, and we could, instead of killing 5 trees, all we need is just 1 page or 2 pages of signed documents, and we're ready to go to closing. So if you're not involved with the eClosing, be aware it's coming. You should look into it. You should team up with lenders that are offering the eClosing so that you can grow your business.
Absolutely. And really that's our goal today, Nectar, is to be able to talk about what it's about, what's the future of eClosing, and what is important as far as implementing the process. And as we know, our world is going digital, and it really started before everything happened in March with our COVID pandemic. And the reality is borrowers want ease and simplicity, and eClosing offers this convenience by providing borrowers with a simple, streamlined e-closing process that is critical in today's competitive mortgage industry. You can add convenience, improve the overall customer experience, provide faster fundings, greater flexibility, as well as better loan quality. And from a borrower standpoint, e-closings can add all of these conveniences and improve their overall experience. So let's begin by understanding what an e-close is. As we know, there are many types of documents that need to be signed in a real estate transaction. And there's a number of factors that are driving the real estate and mortgage industry to transition from traditional paper and wet ink signings to electronic signatures on digital paperless documents. This is known as digital closing, or more commonly called an e-closing. So a digital mortgage closing, also known as an e-closing, refers to electronically signing some or all mortgage loan closing documents using a secure online portal. So Nectar, I'm going to let you share what some of the benefits are of an e-closing.
Thank you, Ginger. So it's really critical for us to understand that the e-closing brings a lot of benefits. One is convenience, right? Especially in this market that we're living in, most people do not want to leave their homes. They want to make sure that they control their closing in their environment. So convenience becomes one of the most benefits in streamlining the closing process. How about security? You have secured website that you're able to go in and review your documents. You'll be able to e-sign those documents. And again, not everything for now, but at least majority of the documents. And you don't have to spend a lot of time on a closing table to be able to review those documents. You'll be able to ask questions ahead of time. It's eco-friendly. It reduces use of paper. As I mentioned, we kill less trees. How about the quality? How many times a borrower has gone to a closing table, signed the documents, the closing agents have forwarded the documents to the lender, and come to find out they missed half of the signatures, or they did not complete the signatures correctly, and the loan is not closing. How about the speed? Speed is the most important thing. Do not spend 5 hours at a closing table signing loan documents and reviewing documents. We have experienced this, and we've been doing this for a while now. Closing is taking, and we're getting a lot of feedback from title companies, from closing agents, escrow companies, where they're basically telling us that it's taking them about half an hour, if not less, to close loans. Again, the speed is becoming extremely helpful to everybody. There are many factors that are involved in determining the types of e-closings available in your area. Remember, each state has their own requirements. We have to follow the state, the federal title, settlement agent rules and conditions to be able to offer the e-closing. Technology is critical. Local laws are extremely important. Customers and underwriting requirements determine what type of e-signings are available. I'll give you an example. In New York, SEMA is available to offer, or we could offer SEMA closings and do e-closing, but we can't do a complete e-closing, meaning not every single document that they're going to be signing is going to be digital. But we do offer the hybrid, which is what we're going to talk about, that applies to New York. So it's critical, and these various create different type of closings. When more types of closings become available over time, and the state and federal requirements and investors start really accepting wider array of e-closings, we will be there with you to be able to offer to you. Ginger, I'll let you share the details of each type of closing so that we could share with our listeners here.
Perfect. Thanks, Nectar. So one of the things I think in really having an understanding, and not just for you all to have an understanding, but be able to explain what each of these are, and as we transition through this as an industry, to be able to explain it to your real estate partners is important. And so beginning with the traditional closing, we're familiar with this. All the paper documents are signed, has a wet signature. We have our in-person notary, traditional ID is verified. And so that's what we've been used to for many, many years. And as Nectar says, kills many trees and takes a long time to do, not just in terms of signing, but in terms of actually reviewing the documents ahead of time. The next, and this is what we're seeing as an industry, is the next phase for a lot of different reasons. As Nectar said, for example, in New York, you cannot do, because of laws within that state, you cannot do a complete electronic closing. So every document cannot be signed electronically. And so what Finance of America is providing is what's called a hybrid e-closing. And Nectar is going to get into some more detail as far as how that works in a minute. But on a hybrid e-closing, you have procedural documents and disclosures that are signed electronically. And then the wet ink signatures are then given on whatever the state requires, which is usually like the deed, mortgage, promissory note, things like that. And so the procedural documents are not verified with a notary, but then the wet ink signature documents are verified in person with an in-person notary and your traditional ID that's verified. The next type of e-closing is called an in-person e-close. So in an in-person e-close, all documents are electronically signed. There are some states that it is available for those states that all documents are signed electronically. And this is really driven on a state level, not a federal level, on a state level. And so as time goes by, I think we hope that obviously all states will adopt to this. But for now, even if it's something that you want in your area and you're like, gosh, you know, we'd really like to have this, there are certain laws and regulations that may keep you from having it within your state. So that's the first thing that's important to know. And I think that's important for you to know to be able to share with your real estate agents. We don't at this time have a list of all those states because quite honestly, they are changing very quickly. And I think what we're seeing in light of what's happening right now, as far as distancing, that might be, you know, done quicker through some states, but you want to check with your state and your title companies to find that out. So all documents are signed electronically. It's signed on a laptop or on a tablet or on your phone. There still is an in-person notary. So that identification is still verified in person, but everything is signed with just one signature. So again, it makes it a lot simpler. And then finally, there is a remote notary e-closing. And this closing is probably the ones that your real estate agents think of the most. And with a remote notary e-closing, all documents are signed electronically. They're signed on a laptop or on a tablet or on a computer. There is a webcam notary. And so with this, what really is the biggest challenge is new means of identification, verification that's needed. And so again, this is driven at a state level through state laws, and it's important for you to know what's happening within your state. And even Nectar, there's some counties I know that have certain restrictions on this as well. So it's really something that we'll see changing over time. So as we know, there are many types of documents in a typical real estate transaction, but there's really three main types. While many documents require a signature, only certain documents are notarized and recorded with the county. So for example, notarized documents are notarized and they're recorded with the county recorder's office. Financial documents are archived in an e-vault and then registered with MERS. And then general documents are stored with the title company and the lender with copies sent to the customer. So it's the different requirements of each of these documents that's making the changes in the e-closing and the requirements necessary. And again, it's important to know and to understand this. So when you're explaining it to a borrower and you're explaining it, especially to a real estate agent, you know what is happening as far as eClosing and what the changing is and why this is happening. There's also different types of signatures, and not all signatures are created equal. There are many options that are used in electronic documents, including a wet ink, which is a scanned signature, a plain text, which is just text that's written. There's a script font, and then there's a digital capture. And so depending on the type of signature and the type of document, then that signature might be a little bit different. And again, it's just understanding that this is not a simple, okay, now we're going to go to eClosing and this is what we're going to do. There's a lot of layers that are affecting this. And then finally, it's a new layer of security. And in the world we live in, this is so important to be able to provide this to your borrowers. And being able to do a secure option and provide an e-signature that applies a tamper evidence seal to electronic documents helps to put your borrowers at ease knowing that there is that level of security. So any attempt to alter the documents will break the seal and expose that the documents have been changed. So we've covered the different e-closing options and then what each means. And what I'd like to move on to is what Finance of America TPO is offering, which is the hybrid e-close. And so Nectar, can you please share about the hybrid e-close with Finance of America?
Absolutely, Ginger. So before I move on and share with you what a hybrid e-close is, I'm sure all of you on the call experienced the last 30 or 60 days so many clients where they were concerned about signing. In fact, I'll share an example that I have, and this is a true example. We had a client that was ready to close a loan, and they sent us, they were very concerned. They sent us a 2-page instructions as to how they were going to sign their documents.
Wow.
2-page instructions. And I'm not making this up. This is a true statement. And within those instructions, they told us that there was no way they were going to go to an escrow company or to their attorney to actually sign these documents. They gave us instructions saying that the notary can come to their door, that they would have their license in plastic bag, that they would have had those documents and reviewed them and printed them. And the notary could stand in front of their door while they're signing their documents. They will hand their documents to the notary. In fact, they will leave it in front of the door with that plastic bag for the notary to be able to look at the license and to notarize. Now, the reason I share this information, I'm sure all of you guys have gone through it, and how many of your clients could not close the loan, and how many of your LOs could not close the loan because they did not have the hybrid e-closing offered by the lender. So it is an era that we're living in. You have to be innovative. You have to have different ways to be able to accommodate your clients. At the same time, you have to really evolve where industry is going. So talking about a hybrid e-closing, as we shared earlier, the hybrid e-close combines electronic signatures with in-person signatures and notary. So when you have procedural documents and disclosures are electronically signed. This is everything that you have in that closing package except for your note, your mortgage deed, and it could be a few more documents. And then the rest of those documents, meaning that the mortgage and the note, they're wet signed. So very easy, right? So they're reviewing their documents, the disclosures, they're electronically signing about 90%, 95% of the documents, and the other 2 or 3% of the documents, few pages, they are signing in person in front of the notary. And they're showing their traditional ID, their driver's license. But the goal here is for them to review all these documents, and they're not really sitting in front of the notary and reviewing a complete 200-page documents that we actually share with them. So again, this is not a remote notary e-closing. It is considered hybrid closing. So what is hybrid closing again? And what are we giving your borrowers the ability to preview their documents, as I mentioned earlier, prior to their closing date? So ahead of time, we could send them the documents. At the closing table, they'll have the ability to e-sign most of their closing documents. And in wet funding state, they reviewed it, they're sitting down at the closing table, and all they're doing on the system via a text with a signature, they're signing all these documents. This is great because they won't have to hand sign each closing document. And sometimes after signing 50 pages, their signature looks different. They missed the middle initial and so on. Though your clients can now e-sign, they still have to wet sign some collateral documents, the note, the deed, or the trust, etc. So it is technically a hybrid closing. It's not a full e-closing. And remember, that's coming, so be ready for that. Why should you be excited about using the e-closing? Again, you have to offer efficiency and ease of relationship with you and your agents. E-closing, a function that many other lenders are currently offering. So bringing this to your clients is critical to your growth. Again, you're competing with the large lenders. Why not have the same tools? Why not allow us to give you those tools so that you can compete with them? You're giving your clients more flexibility. Easy for process for agents, less hand cramps, right, when you're signing. Additional options for clients during this new digital environment. Give them the options, let them choose. Don't dictate to them, but show them the way. Based on our experience with our hybrid closings that we have been offering for a while now, trust me, your borrowers and realtor partners are going to love it. We have had test cases with our title companies, our closing agents, and the responses that we have been getting is extremely positive. So don't miss this opportunity to offer to your clients also. Ginger?
Very good. So I'm going to go through just step by step how the hybrid eClose work. And, just your example, Nectar, that you gave of these individuals who were concerned about going into signing. And I'm sure many of you on this call have had that happen over the past several months because we've been busy, right? And so, having to sit down and read through all the documents, and have that done on a porch with somebody that's hopefully coming over to sign, and to sign all of those is challenging. So by being able to offer the hybrid eClose, it really eliminates a lot of that. And so I'm so excited about the opportunity that this offers. For your customer, it provides a great experience. And again, this is a way for you as a mortgage broker to stand out, for you to be able to say to your borrowers, we have the opportunity for you to be able to do what's called a hybrid eClose. And with the hybrid eClose, the first thing that's going to happen is step one. Prior to closing, guess what? They're going to receive an email on the day that docs are drawn, giving them a chance to preview their closing documents ahead of time. And that's the biggest time saver right there, is by allowing them to look at them ahead of time. But they cannot sign their documents yet. So the idea is they get it, they can look at them, they're not ready to sign yet, but they are able to review their documents. The next step, which is step 2, which is the anticipated signing date. Now I'm going to go through 2 different scenarios, and Nectar talked about our wet funding states and our dry funding states. And I'm going to go back to our TRID training from back in 2015. So y'all put your TRID hats back on, and remember, we have our wet funding states and our dry funding states. Our wet funding states, and I learned this, Nectar, during TRID training when I was doing so much training on TRID. Our wet funding states are called wet funding because they sign and fund at the same time. So the signature is wet. Our dry funding states, which are our escrow states, predominantly on the west side of the country, are dry funding states because they sign and they fund at a different date. So they sign, money goes into escrow, and then it's funded usually a day or 2 or 3 days later. And so the signature is dry. So that's how we have the difference between our wet funding states and our dry funding states. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our wet funding states. So in our wet funding states, your borrowers have already received the documentation, they've gone through it, and then they will receive an email saying, hey, good to go. It'll come from Finance of America, and they will be able to e-sign on the same day that they go to sign their closing documents. They do not have to e-sign in the presence of a notary, so they can do it at home. They can do it on their phone while they're driving to their signing. It's just one of those easy things, and they do it with just one signature. So it's not a matter of going in to every single page. Now, then they get to their signing and they're going to sign the remaining documents, which is just a couple of documents that require a physical signature with the notary. This will make it easier for them because they've already reviewed their documents ahead of time, and now they can simply fly through the signing. So that's our wet funding states. On the same day that they're going in to sign, this is going to happen. Now let's look at our dry funding states. And so again, step 2, our anticipated signing date for our dry funding states. They will not have to e-sign on the same day they go to sign their closing documents. They can e-sign prior to the actual wet signatures, but it cannot be prior to the closing date. And that closing date we share with you, and that date comes to them, and then they will be notified that it's okay for them to sign. They do not have to e-sign in the presence of a notary. So again, same thing. They can sign on their computer, on their phone, on their laptop, and they can sign before they actually go in to signing. This is in our dry funding states. And then what happens on the day of signing, they'll simply arrive at their appointment, they sign the remaining documents with a wet signature, that is notarized, that is it. So super simple. Now, what determines if you're eligible for a hybrid eClose? So currently,
Can I add one more benefit here that I would like to share with our loan officers that are actually on the call today? In addition to the clients getting the hyperlink for their documents to review and e-sign, the beauty of this is that you as the loan officer will also get a copy of those documents. And it's not a hard copy, it's a link that if your client has any questions, they don't have to call us. They can call you. You have that information in front of you. You could assist them with any questions they have because you're the point of contact with them. So that's additional benefit that you can get with this hybrid closing, to be able to get copies of these documents and assist your clients, because a lot of times they call you at 9 p.m. and you'll go, well, I don't have the documents. Can I call you back the next day? So we would like to offer you that benefit also, not just to the client.
Perfect. And again, it just creates that ability for you to be a standout in your area, to be able to offer this and to be involved in the transaction. So I think that's so important, Nectar, to be able to, and call them ahead of time and let them know. Say, hey, if you have any questions, let me know, because now you already have a copy of that. So I think that's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about eligible products. So right now, these are the products through Finance of America, TPO, that are eligible for the hybrid eClose. So Conforming Plus, which is Fannie Mae, Conforming Choice, which is Freddie Mac, Home Ready, Home Possible, FHA Plus, excluding any 203K, the limited or the standard, VA Plus, and USDA. The second thing is the customer has to accept it. And so that's why we're doing this webinar, is to let you know what is happening as far as the hybrid eClosing, what the difference is about the eClosing, so you can feel comfortable explaining it and obviously get their acceptance. So we want them to feel comfortable with it, just as we want you to feel comfortable with it. And then third, the loan has to not have one of the following. So it cannot have power of attorney. We cannot do these on trusts. We cannot have a non-borrowing spouse on the title, and this is not available for manufactured homes. So that's it. And the eligibility status is available through FAM's TPO system. And so everything right there is easy for you to be able to see that. So let's talk about preparing your borrowers for their eClose. So step 1, they're going to receive an email with a link to their documents. You're also going to get an email with a link to the documents, as Nectar said. And so step 1 is to review the closing documents prior to the closing date. Step 2 is sign the eligible documents with just one electronic signature. And so in order to be able to e-sign, your borrowers will need, number 1, an email, and number 2, an electronic device, which can be a computer, a laptop, an iPad, a notepad, an Android phone, or an iPhone. So just basically anything that they can bring this up electronically and sign on, they can use to be able to do the e-sign. And then step 3 is to go to closing and to sign the final closing documents and have the signature notarized. It really is that simple. And so being able to save time with the hybrid eClose, it takes that traditional closing, which was 3 hours, sometimes more, takes it down to 15 minutes. And I think we'll see that to where it's just a lot faster and a lot more streamlined over time as well. So now is the time to educate. Now more than ever is a time to educate, and that's why we've created some tools for our Finance of America TPO clients. We've created some videos to use on social media. We've created a PowerPoint presentation to share with your realtors and your clients. And now more than ever, we need to educate. So if you are a Finance of America client, or if you would like to find out how to become a Finance of America client, then we're going to share that information with you by the end of the presentation. But what we're providing is some videos. So if you want to talk to your account executive and get a copy, we have an e-closing video we can give you. I can't share it right here. We don't have audio capability on the GoToWebinar system, but this is an example of the PowerPoint presentation. And these are just some of the tools that we share with Finance of America through a lot of our education initiatives. And so, for example, this one, you can go in, you can add your company logo. It's a guide to e-closing. It's something that you can use to be able to share with your real estate partners, or if you're doing webinars for consumers as well, to be able to stand out. So you can add your photo there, you can put your contact information there, and it goes through the information that we just shared with you on this. And so what we want to be able to do is to provide you with the tools and the resources to help you build your business. And so I'm going to turn it over for questions right now and see if anyone does have a question. I do see one question for Lorenzi, wanting to know if this webinar is being recorded, and the answer is yes. And Valerie, as mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, will be sending out a copy of the recording, and you will receive that I think about an hour, Valerie said, after. So if you've missed out or you've hopped on late, we want to make sure to get the information to you, and so you can have that. Any other questions? If you guys have any questions, you can type them in the Q&A box and we'll be able to get to those. Okay, so David has a question. Can you do e-closing with Finance of America reverse? And so Nectar, I am going to defer that one to you as far as what that looks like.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole thing. We could do
Yes.
e-closing with
the Finance of America reverse with FAR.
You know what? No, at this point, Finance of America Reverse is not available with the e-closing. However, they're looking into the details on that also. And if I can just have the email, I can respond back to you and let you know the timelines on that.
Okay, and I can write the name down and make sure we get that information to you, David, because your email should be on there as well. And okay, so David has his email. I'll make sure and write that down there. And I'm not seeing any other questions. So I have a question for everyone that's on here as far as, looking at doing, the hybrid e-close and the e-closing. How many of you are aware of the laws and regulations within your state regarding e-closing? Those are things that it's important to know. Are you working with your local title and escrow companies to know what the laws are? There's, involvement and things like that. So type in the question and answer box. Just let me know if you are aware, if you're not aware, if it would be helpful to know, because those are the kind of things too that Valerie, I think NAM does such a great job as far as making what we're aware of as far as what's going on within the industry. Okay, so I'm seeing some of you. So in Ohio, no, I need to. In Texas, yes, somewhat. And Texas is one of those states that is very much driven by county as well. And so being aware of that. Ryan, thank you. Yes, you are very involved in that. And I think that's important to be able to share. And really one of the things that's so important in being involved with the association as well, whether it's on a national level through the National Association of Mortgage Brokers, or even on your state level as well, to be able to work with your associations, to be aware of the things that are happening within your state, because that does drive a lot of change in legislation. And so being aware of that and involved are very important. And so Ryan's asking, are state recording departments on board with handling this? That's a great question, Ryan. And I think something too that would be a great benefit for NAM to be able to work with some of our industry's title companies, some of our industry's title associations, to be able to do that, because that is obviously a lot of what is driving this as well on a state level. So definitely something good to be able to get involved with. Okay, so I'm going to move on. If you do have other questions, by all means, let us know. And as you have questions, you can always contact your Finance of America account executive for more information. And you can find information regarding your account executive or getting started with Finance of America at famtpo.com. We have a lot of resources available. We have an online university. We do webinars every month, and so we want to make sure to provide you with those resources that are available as well. But the main key is to stand out with the hybrid eClose and to be able to stand out and stay involved. And so again, working with your states, finding out what's happening as far as legislation is really one of the great strengths of NAM and of your local associations. I know I'm in Oregon. I served on our Oregon board for many years. I do a lot of work with California and with Florida and with NAM, and there's so many great things that NAM does since 1973, and a lot of people don't realize that NAM has been around for so long. NAM has been the voice of mortgage originators, of wholesalers, of account executives, and industry professionals since 1973. They've been advocating, lobbying, working on both state and national issues, and they do it a lot of times very silently. I know I get after them sometimes. It's like, we need to know what you guys are doing because you're doing so many great things. So my hat's off to all of the volunteers. Thank you for so much that you do for our industry. And if you're not a member of NAM, seriously consider becoming a member, because there's lots of great benefits. I can tell you the first ever healthcare program that's available for our industry is made available through NAM. And so being small independent mortgage brokers, it's important to be able to have that and to offer that. So that's one of the benefits to look into. There's benefits on credit services, technology services, marketing services. And the reality is, together we're stronger. Together we grow, together we thrive, and together we build a stronger community. So now is the time to build together. And really one of the reasons why Finance of America is so excited about being involved, especially in building this Road to Innovation webinar. And so Nectar, I'm going to let you go ahead and close it out. I'm going to see if there's any additional questions on here that we'll ask. But I know that you have some exciting things that are planned for the Road to Innovation webinar series.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ginger. You actually put a beautiful closing to our webinar. Just to cover what our intent is, our intent to team up with you, our broker community, our TPO community, and give you the power, the efficiency, the strength, everything that a mortgage lender has out there that you have been looking into getting the intelligence. You might not have had all the tools that they have, but our goal is to give you those tools. So look forward within the next month to our next webinar that actually is going to give you additional tools to make you efficient. And whether it's marketing, whether it's technology, just I'm looking forward to building these additional tools for your success. Feel free to email us. Let us know what you would like to see in these webinars. What are your pain points that we can add value and offer to you? So this is an open communication between us and our partners out there. Feel free to email us. My email is very easy. My first name, Nectar, Nectar, at financeofamerica.com. Nectar@financeofamerica.com. There's only one Nectar in the industry, so it will not be that hard for me to get that email. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. I hope this was extremely helpful to all of you. And we're open to any ideas or any communication from you guys to make you successful.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much, Ginger. Thank you so much, Nectar. We really appreciate it. We look forward to the next session. And thank you so much for highlighting all the accomplishments of NAM. Of course, as you said, we always don't toot our own horn, so it's nice when someone else does.
Well, that's the whole thing. And I can tell you, Valerie, it's a great joy in being able to be on this webinar. Nectar, I'm so excited to be able to have Finance of America being able to do this monthly. And truly, as Nectar said, we want to hear from you. So let Valerie know. I don't know if y'all do a survey afterwards, but it'd be great to do that. What are some of the things that we can help you with? What are some of your challenges? What do you need to help you build your business? Because as Nectar said, that's really what the plan is in building this. So let us know. We live in a whole new world right now, one that none of us ever thought that we'd ever be a part of. But being able to navigate through that is so important. And especially for being an independent mortgage originator, you guys have the power. You have the ability to really provide so much and share your education. And again, as I say, NAM doesn't toot their own horn enough. I think a lot of you all, as far as independent originators, don't do that either. So let us know how we can help you to do that and to build your business. So thank you guys. Have a great week. Happy 4th of July. And we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, everyone.